Buenos dias, buenas tardes, and buenas noches, mi amigos and mi amigas, tasties and tastettes all around. Feliz Navidad. Welcome back to another episode of FTW GT Weekly. It's your boy Lenny, joined again by my producer extraordinaire, Dante. Hola, mi amigo. ¿Cómo está?
Bien. Holy shit, you fucked me up with that one.
And before we get into another great episode of the podcast here, if you could, as always, drop a like down below. I got to get my finger in the camera. Okay, there we go. Right down below there. I'm fingering the camera. Drop a like, hit the subscribe button. Sharing is caring. Tell a friend, ask a friend. Go fund our page, please. We'd appreciate it very much. And Dante, I want to get us into some topics, into some news, because whoa, do we have a lot of hard-hitting topics this week.
Big time.
Yep. But first, I wanted to ask you, how would you feel about living in a house that was falling off the side of a cliff?
No, not my cup of tea.
So I had read about this like a couple weeks ago, and it keeps popping up in my feed. There's an 82-year-old guy in California who owns a $16 million mansion that is on the verge of falling into the ocean, and he's just refusing to leave.
Why?
So I guess they're saying that the house is technically structurally sound. So so they're not forcing him to. And I think he's like, I'm 82, bitch. Like, if my house pulls an Iron Man and it falls into the fucking ocean, like, screw it. I was going to die anyways.
Yeah, no, I'm just not taking that risk.
But they're predicting that LA might see even more rain in the near future, and like a mudslide at some point might just take them out. I do think maybe a top way to die.
No. What?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like a guaranteed instant death to me. Sounds like there might be some suffrage in there.
All right. People pay to jump out of planes. People pay to like whitewater raft. People pay to base jump. People do crazy shit all the time is my point. You go on roller coasters. You do all these things, right? Imagine being in your house as it slowly starts to teeter, and then it just starts sliding down the side of a mountain. That sounds exhilarating. Imagine that in an action movie. That would be great.
Yeah, that's a movie. That I don't want that to be my reality.
I don't see where the miss is here, dude. Okay, you think of a better way to die right now.
High-speed car chase.
No.
Yeah.
You want to kill other people? You're an awful person.
I didn't say that.
That's what you're kind of saying. That's what you're implying. Because like if you're dying in a high-speed car crash, like you're probably hitting somebody else. Or in the process of doing that. And not to go morbid on this, even though we kind of already are, but like, I don't know if Paul Walker felt that way.
Too soon.
Or Dale Earnhardt.
Also too soon.
I don't know if any of them felt that way. Dude, I almost got hit by a car today.
Like while walking or when you were driving?
I don't know. You think I was walking?
I don't know. Maybe you were walking Bailey. Damn, bro.
No, I would be way more distraught if I almost got my dog killed. No, we were I was done food shopping, and the Starbucks I normally go to is currently closed for renovation. So I had to go to a different one. And this one, you know what I hate? I hate busy roads and trying to take a left turn, like crossing like lanes of traffic to like take a left into a parking lot. There's like nothing worse than doing that. I dread it. I'll go like miles past somewhere to avoid doing that, right? And pull up to the Starbucks. I'm getting ready to take the left-hand turn. And when you have like the big box truck that's also like stopping to take a left, but now you can't see the second lane
see around it. Yeah.
And like I knew, dude, I knew there was more cars coming, but like I couldn't tell how far away they were. And this motherfucker's just waving me on. And I'm like, all right, this is a bad idea, but like I just gotta kind of do it. So of course I start banging the left, the Lizzie, and they like
I thought it was a Larry.
No, this was a Lizzie. It was a woman. She was coming towards us and like she had to stop. She didn't have to like slam on the brakes or anything, but it was still like
Huh.
there was that moment, that moment where like because you've been in an accident before, right?
Once, yeah.
Like you can kind of just you're like watching it happen. Like it's one of those things where it like things are going fast because vehicles move fast, but it's going
Yeah.
slow all at the same time.
It's one of
So
those
like I was
things where
just
it's like, ah, fuck, I don't have a way out of this. I just gotta let it happen, kind of thing.
hope for the best, hope and pray,
Yeah.
And yeah, fortunately, she was aware and didn't hit me. So that was my day.
Nice.
That was my day today.
Nice.
Um,
Exciting day.
so yeah, I don't want to die in a
Do you consider that a near-death experience? Does that change your lease on life?
not as close as falling down a side of a cliff in a house would.
Ah.
No, I've had worse, like that. It was pretty minor. It was one of those things where like it happens and like I was sitting in the car and I was talking about it and I was like, you know what, like I can't just keep talking. Like there's not really much to say. Like
Yeah.
I was basically just saying the same thing I just said, where it's like I knew that was going to happen. Like I knew the second that box took you almost have to commit to it the second the box truck stops, and instead we had that awkwardness where it's like,
You go. No, wait, you go.
and it wasn't even like a you go. It's just like I know that I can't see around you because you're too big, and there's a whole lane of traffic that there's like no reason for them to be slowing down right now. So inevitably, this could be really bad.
Yeah.
And like if that was you in your high speed car like thing, like I would have been murdered today, and
Well,
it would have been
hopefully
my
you would have
fault,
heard
which
the
is crazy.
sirens.
Like I was also thinking about that, like that would have been my fault, like that accident would have been my fault, right? Because I'm crossing there right away.
So in Massachusetts, nobody has the right of way. You only have the option to yield the right of way.
So how would I don't understand that.
It's just it'd be a whole lot more dispute about who's at fault.
Could I blame the box truck? Could I get his information?
No,
Fuck.
because he's not driving your car.
He was driving a car though.
But he's not the fault of the incident. He didn't make you go. Regardless of whether he was waving you on or not, you were the one that put your foot on the gas.
That's fair. Fair point. All right. Well, people out there, let us know. Was the box truck at fault first and foremost? And if you don't say yes, you're dead to me. Almost
Oh,
like I was today.
yeah.
Um, but also, like, is your house toppling down the side of a cliff into the ocean one of the best ways to go? Let us know that, please.
No,
Um,
no, it's
do you
not.
wanna do you wanna start with, like, the quick hitter news, and then build up to the more exciting stuff? Or do you want to go with the exciting stuff and then wrap up our little news sesh with, like, the quick hitter?
Let's
What do you
bang out
think?
some of the quick hits.
Okay, cool. So we had both, Batman, 2, The Batman 2, and Stranger Things get delayed. The Batman 2 officially delayed a year.
I'm more bummed about the second one.
Really? I'm
Yeah.
definitely more bummed about the Batman 2. I thought that movie was great. Loved Robert Pattinson in it. I wanted to see them return to that world and like keep building on. When you get it right with Batman, I think it's Batman and Spider-Man to me are like the two that when you get them right, they're the most excited I get about superhero movies, I think.
I just think those are the ones that have the best examples of good superhero movies.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I think there are people who really love like Superman out there. And like, like now with the craze of Marvel, there's so many characters that people are aware of that like there's probably is more of an argument. But historically, I do think you're correct. That like those are the ones that people care the most about. um Apparently that's just because the Batman got pushed back because they're not even done writing the script yet. I guess they're so far off in writing the script that they just know they're not going to meet the date, and they're blaming it primarily on the writer's strike and not getting that deal settled fast enough for them to get back to work on writing the script. A year is a long fucking time though. So now we're not predicted to get it until, well, not predicted. It's like not slated to come out till 2026.
Fuck.
That's a long time, right?
Yeah, it is. By then, everybody's
Although
gonna forget about the first one.
Well, so that's always weird, like 4 years in between a movie.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, like, dude, it's already March. Isn't that fucking weird?
Yeah. I mean, it feels accurate. I don't feel like the year has gone by fast.
Do you feel like when you were younger, like, time went by slower?
Yeah, but that's all just relativity. The more you experience something, the more familiar it seems. So the quicker your mind skips through it.
Yeah, and I say that, but, like, I remember feeling in, like, school when the end of August is running around and you're, like, coming around and you're like, "Oh, I'm a week away from fucking going back to school."
Yeah.
That's that feeling would being of being like, "Dude, like, I didn't have any summer." You also felt like summer was an eternity when it was starting, when
Yeah.
it was really like you had, like, 11 weeks of freedom, but, like, in your head, you're like, "Motherfucker, I all I got is time right now." Like, I'm gonna do shit for at least 3 weeks, and I could still feel like I have plenty of time in front of me. But,
Yeah.
like, my birthday is always in August, so I would always sit there and, like, that was like, "Fuck, it's coming to an end soon," you know?
Mm.
Um,
My birthday is in the end of June, so mine was always kicking off my summer.
yeah, yeah, you were like, "Fucking party. We got
Like,
an eternity left here."
yeah, let's get
Um,
chocolate wasted.
yeah, so Stranger Things, I guess Stranger Things, it's kind of, it's gotten pushed back, and it's kind of a creation of its own. I don't know how to put it, but basically it's because of their own volition that they've gotten pushed back because the show's popularity boomed so much, and it's taken so long for them to push through this whole show that a lot of their actors have graduated on to other projects and stuff like that. So essentially,
So now they're
because of
having
the
trouble with trying to find time to film.
yeah, like the busyness of like their actors. I think Millie Bobby Brown has a Netflix movie coming out in like 2 weeks, Damsel, or she just had a trailer coming out for it. I don't know how soon it comes out.
Yeah,
I
I think
suppose.
I saw something about that. Yeah,
Um, she's the one the biggest one that comes to mind. It's also Hopper, like, obviously does a lot of different
and
stuff.
Gat and
Yeah.
Moderato,
Who the f Oh, is that the funny
the funny
looking
looking
one?
kid. Yeah,
That's offensive that we
it's
both
not
did
fair
that,
that
but
we
you
keep calling him that, but I knew you
I
would
thought
get
you were
it
gonna
right away. I
I
was
thought you
gonna
would
beat around
clean
the
that up
bush.
for me. Yeah,
No.
like, I thought I'd say that, and you'd be like, "Well, no, like, he's normal." Um,
He
'Cause, like, who the fuck are we to say, you know?
has a very
Uh,
unique looking face.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. The
yeah,
kid with the teeth and the hair.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So, but yeah, it's kind of crazy, like, because of the busyness of all of those people's schedules that they are essentially pushing that, like, it's getting pushed back as well.
yeah.
I wonder, do you think they're gonna do like a time jump just because like they are so obviously not
Well, they
children
have
anymore?
to now. Yeah,
Yeah, like it's
like
just
that whole cast is like high school age now, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, more than that. You want to look up that kid's age. They've got to be like 20, right? Millie Bobby Brown's got to be 22.
Really? Holy
I
shit!
That's a
All right,
guess
yeah. So Kid Moderato is 21 years old.
because Millie Bobby Brown's engaged to
She's
Bon
20.
Jovi's kid. Yeah,
She's
did you know that
engaged.
she's engaged to Bon Jovi's kid?
No, I had no idea.
No. What's your favorite Bon Jovi song?
Uh, Living on a Prayer.
Predictable. Mine's
It's the only
I
one
don't
that
know the
came to
name of it.
mind.
I expected that. And before you said it in my head, I was like, it's gonna be Living on a Prayer. Um,
Yeah.
my favorite one, I don't know
Or It's My Life.
the name of it, but it was in the movie A Lot Like Love, one of my favorite rom-coms of all time. And it's these 5 words I swear to you, when you
Mm,
breathe, I wanna be the air for you. I'll be there for you.
is the title of the song.
I live and I die for you. Steal the sun from the sky for you.
Okay.
I can keep going if you need me to.
No, I don't need you to, but I'm surprised you know that much of the song and you didn't know the title of it.
Well, because I only know it in the movie, Ashton Kutcher, sings it to Amanda Peet, I believe is her name. He sings it to her, and he kind of bodies it. He does really good. Just
Alright.
like just an electric guitar, nothing else outside of her house, say anything style, like belts it out to
Alright.
her. Okay, moving on. So we have, speaking of Batman, Spider-Man, and the like, apparently they're going to be releasing the Raimi trilogy, the Spider-Man Raimi trilogy, back into theaters and IMAX in
I
about a
don't know what
month.
that is.
Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, the Tobey Maguire movies.
Oh, why'd you say Raimi Trilogy?
Raimi. I said Raimi, sorry. Because he's the director. He's the one
Ah,
who,
I see, I see, okay.
it's his movies.
Ah,
Um, I did, to be fair, not that you would have known it in one way or another, but I did say the name wrong. So correction on my part.
I still would have been equally as confused, but alright.
Rami would be like what, Rami Malek, the guy who played the lead singer in Queen in that movie,
Don't
Bohemian Rhapsody.
don't quiz me on names.
He was also the villain in a Bond movie, maybe the last
Huh.
one. Um,
Was the last one, No Time to Die?
yeah, I think he was the bad guy in that one. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure I'm right. But yeah, they we have so okay. Have you watched
Yeah,
all
you are
three?
correct. Oh, that guy. I've watched the first 2, I've never watched the 3rd one.
When was the last time you saw them?
Long time ago, probably 10 plus years.
Will you go to the movies to see them?
Honestly, I mean, for the first one, definitely. Even the second one, yeah.
About a
Do
month ago,
Hold on, are they running, like, a straight run of the whole trilogy?
I assume it's maybe a weekly thing or something. I'm not 100% sure. I just saw that some IMAXs were going to be re-releasing it. It's
Okay.
also, I saw today that today's the 15-year anniversary of when they announced that they were going to make a fourth one, and they just never did it.
Mm.
So I, about a month ago, rewatched the first two and was going to watch I watched some of the third, but the third is just, bad, really bad. So I couldn't finish it. I didn't enjoy it at all. But the first two, and you say definitely the first one. The second one's better than the first one.
Maybe I don't remember it as well as I remember. Wow,
Yeah,
that was
yeah, I get you. The second one I think is the one that is. Can you look up Rotten Tomatoes for us and just see which one's got the highest rating? I feel like the second one's got to be higher than the first one. Second one, you got a little Doc Ock. You got like that iconic train scene when he stops the train and the New Yorkers like carry him like Jesus over their shoulders.
Oh, the one when he's
And then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're like, he's just a kid. He's just a boy. And then the kid hands him the mask, and it's like, don't worry, we won't tell anyone.
Uh, 90% on the first one.
In the second,
Now the second is 93.
yeah, okay, so it is higher. Yeah, the second I think is better. Obviously, like the first has one of the most iconic movie moments ever, not just like superhero movies. And funny enough, it has nothing to do with action. It's that kiss scene. Like
Oh, the
everybody
upside
knows
down. Yeah.
the upside down kiss scene for multiple reasons. Kirsten Dunst being a big part of it. Great direction that was given for that scene
Yeah.
for her. Just props to the director on that one. But I talked about, I was rewatching the OC, and my favorite episode ever of the OC is called Rainy Day Women. It's in season 2, and they redo that kiss scene in the show.
Oh,
He goes up, he's wearing the Spider-Man mask because it's raining in North Carolina or California or Southern California. Where's Orange County? Southern California?
California.
Uh, but he goes up on the roof to fix his satellite because he loses connection, and he ties himself off to the chimney with a rope, and he's wearing the Spider-Man mask, and he falls off the roof and is hanging upside down. And the girl that he loves, who they've been broken up for a while, finally decides she wants to be with him and comes back and finds him and does the upside down kiss because he's a comic book nerd in it.
Interesting.
Yeah, fun little tie-in for everybody out there. That won't be in my taste test this week, but I did. You know what sucks? Does this ever happen to you in shows? So, like, I was rewatching that, and I hate some of the end of the second season and then some of the third season. So, like, I just kind of fell off because I don't want to get to the season, the episodes I don't like.
And you didn't want to skip?
Well, I could skip to season 4, but, like, there's parts of it, like so, like, Ryan and Marissa, your 2, like, main characters, are finally on the verge of getting back together, and, like, you wanna see them back together, but then soon after that, his brother, who was in jail from the beginning of the show, Trey, comes back into the picture, and Trey's a real creep and, like, assaults her and stuff like that, and it's
Oh
just, like,
shit.
it's an awkward end of the season because 'cause you're like she's, like, trying to hide it from Ryan and doesn't want him to know, and you're like, "Dude, like, I just wanna see you 2, like, together," you know? We didn't need to do this. And it eats up such a big portion of the show, so I'm, like, kind of, you know,
I
it's a
gotcha.
bummer. Yeah, okay.
Oh god.
La
That
last
chuckle tells me we're switching lanes heavily.
No, 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 no. We This is the last bit of news for the week, and it just got announced today. It's something we talk about on here quite often. It's there's certain like hallmarks of this show that we're gonna like always come back around to, um, and we're gonna talk Scream again.
All right.
So, Scream 7 has been a point of controversy for a few months now. After their 2 lead actresses who have starred in Scream 5 and Scream 6, Melissa Barrera and Jenny Ortega both have left the project, one being removed and the other opting out because of solidarity reasons. And then the director, Christopher Lloyd, also left the project as well somewhat recently. So it was to a point where everybody's kind of like, are they even going to do this anymore? I think you always knew they were going to do it, but can you do
Christopher
it without
Landon.
Landon? Okay, sorry. Christopher Lloyd is Back to the Future. Double
Possibly.
check that for me. Um, yeah, it kind of got to this point where you're like, are they going to do this? If they do it, would they have to do it with like, could you do this with a whole new cast, stuff like that?
Yeah.
Was I right
Yeah.
about Christopher Lloyd?
Yeah. That's the doc.
Yeah. Um, so I think there was only one way that they ever could do it, and there was rumors about potentially the return of Sidney Prescott, but Neve Campbell had said like I think she had felt disrespected by some of the money offers she had received and said she was leaving the franchise and all and this that and the other. But I think as things often happen, like one one person's like tribulations and like letdowns in this regard, like Melissa Barrera and Trenny Ortega being left the project at this point opens up a power vacuum to be sucked up by somebody else, and that gives the opportunity to Neve Campbell to probably make a boatload of money and come back to the franchise because she's going to be the one that guarantees the studio a certain amount of fanfare and eyes that are going to watch it versus them just trying to do a hard relaunch, which I don't know. The fact that like all 6 Scream movies have kind of built on top of each other in some regards or another and have some level of connectivity from like Courtney Cox being involved in like, almost every single one at this well, she is in every single one actually. Um, and like certain storylines that have kind of come through in every single movie. I think it'd be hard to reboot it. So yeah, you have to bring her back, and she agreed, and she said that they asked her in an extremely respectful way, and she posted on Instagram a picture of the script today. And also interestingly, returning, I want to get his name, Kevin Williams,
Hmm.
who apparently was the screenwriter for the original movie, is returning as well in a like a producer role.
Okay.
So you have 2 of the OGs of the Scream franchise coming back, which I think as a Scream fan myself has to make you optimistic in a franchise that has largely not let me down at all.
Because I mean, even when they didn't have her, they still said they were doing the movie, so it was raising questions of like how good would it be. So this is definitely exciting.
Yeah, I think that this is the I mean, I think it's the best possible outcome. I think that I really enjoyed Melissa Barrera and Jenny Ortega, and I would have been happy to see them return for another movie. I think they've both been great additions. The 5th one, not as good as the 6th for their characters specifically. I don't know which movie I think is overall better, but I think that like the evolutions of their characters were better in the 6th one than they were in the 5th one, where they were newer and you were adjusting to them a bit more, and they were maybe finding their footing and what they wanted to do with the characters. But at the end of the day, like the thing that drives this franchise and always has is Sidney Prescott. I think it's going to be interesting. Like, how do you create an interesting reason for her to be being attacked again that is not retreading somebody wanting to go viral or wanting to rewrite the script or tying in some weird relative or like
Yeah.
how do you find a fresh way to do this? But one thing I have appreciated about the Scream franchise is like they mostly have found ways to make things more interesting. Um, I don't want to like, but I do want to get away from this. Like the fourth and the sixth, I think we're very much about like I want to. The fourth was more about like rewriting the story and like it was interesting. Like 3, 2, 1, if you haven't watched them, but like one of Sydney's relatives being like, "I'm gonna flip the story and there's got to be a new hero in this, but she's actually the villain." Like I think that's an interesting like archetype, but it's also these kids that grew up in like the social media era and are looking to go viral and shit. And I think you got some of that in the sixth one, if I remember correctly, as well, right? And like you had the museum of all the artifacts and this, that, and the other. Um, I also wonder, where one of the cool things about the new movie was it taking place in New York. Like, do
Yeah.
you go back to Woodsboro with Sydney, where she has removed herself? If you think back to the fifth movie, with the last time she was in it, she was far away from Woodsboro. Like, she has a family, she has a husband, she has kids. Like,
Right.
she has removed herself completely from Woodsboro because of this stuff. So do you have somebody find her somewhere? Um, do you involve the family aspects of it? Because I think that raises the stakes a little bit. And then the last thing is like, how do you make the fans of the franchise feel like she's in jeopardy? I think the one thing that they've done is and I actually follow a girl on Patreon now, and the main reason I follow her, and I want to just shout out the channel and not be an asshole, um, is because she started watching the Scream franchise, and I wanted to watch the reactions that she was doing, so I
Oh, is this
subscribed
like
to.
first watch?
Yeah, her first time seeing them. Yeah, and I think I've told you, like, I got into her because like two reasons. She reacts to like Olivia Rodrigo, and I'm a stan for her. And then she was watching the Scream franchise, and I was like, oh, like you're only releasing the full versions. Like she literally has the movie up. Like you can watch the movie while she watches it. It's not like just her staring at her doing it. So
It's a
I kind of
watch
like
along.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I kinda like that, and, she releases, like, 1 a month. She just finished the 5th one. Her name's Caitlin Marie, by the way. She's got a YouTube as well, if anybody wants to check her out, and she was just watching the 5th one, and it ruined her when, again, 3, 2, 1, when they kill off Dewey,
Mm.
David Arquette. When they kill off David Arquette's character, like, she had to, like, stop the recording for a little bit, like, it, like, very much upset her. But I think one of the reasons that you do that is to make it feel as though like the lead characters aren't untouchable and can be in jeopardy. And if you think to the sixth movie, they kind of do that again with Courtney Cox. However, they don't go through with killing her. Like she gets shot, like and is in pretty bad shape.
Yeah.
And I just going back to my main point, I think it's going to be hard when you have 7 movies in a franchise to like have. It's kind of like Halloween with Jamie Lee Curtis.
I
Like,
got you.
how are you going to raise the stakes to the level that we all buy that like that character won't
Still
live
might be
through
in
it?
danger. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so I think it's interesting. I'm excited. It's cool. It's good news. I'm happy. Do you have any thoughts on it?
No, I think you pretty much got it covered. I mean, I still am pretty new to the franchise, and I haven't actually seen any of the first four. I've only seen five and six.
I mean, I genuinely think you need to watch them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I think you genuinely need to watch, by the way, but like, for as much as we talk about Scream on here, I feel like, and like, I know that you liked the fifth and the sixth one.
Yeah.
That I feel like it's not a far fetched thing. You have Paramount. I'm pretty sure they're on there,
I got you.
or maybe they're on HBO. I can't remember, but yeah, like I just feel like it's like an easy thing to find. And the first and second are pretty perfect, I would say. Pretty perfect. Okay. I think that's what I have for news. Let's talk. Do you want to do a little? I guess the one other piece of news I had was that Arnold Schwarzenegger was coming back for a movie with Alan Richson.
Richson, yeah.
Damn, I got it right finally. Yeah, they're doing some movie. The synopsis is weird. It's like something about like drugs getting stolen, and so it's the naughty list. No, it's like not drugs. It's sorry, it's called like The Bag maybe, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be playing like Santa or something, and his bag of shit gets stolen, and he goes to the naughty list and finds a guy that's going to help him retrieve his bag.
This already screams straight to streaming with a title, The Man with the Bag.
Yeah, okay, I was close on the name. Yeah, do you have the synopsis in front of you?
No, give me a second, I can pull it.
Just I want to make sure I have this right, but I'm pretty sure that that's what it is, and I'm like, I don't know about this one, man. Like, I have some faith in Arnold. What was the movie he did with? Oh, The Last Stand. He did it with Johnny Knoxville. That movie was really good. That was like his first role after being a governor.
It must still be in development because I can't find a actual synopsis.
I saw it on Twitter. I don't know.
Ah, okay.
Not much to say here. I'm not. It's still pretty early stages. Obviously, it's cool to see Arnold coming back. I don't know what he's got left in the tank. He's a funny guy, so I think there's a lane where he can still make it work.
And sounds like it'll be like a straight to streaming, like fun, whatever kind of movie.
Yeah, like I don't know that I can see him legitimately doing like action any longer, but I am intrigued by like you pair him up with a legitimate action star, and I think you do have something that you can maybe play around with there. I just don't know that like I think that you need somebody who can level out the comedy with Schwarzenegger too, and I don't know that Alan Richson can like pull that aspect of it off.
Yeah, he doesn't strike me as a comedic guy, but I do like him.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of comedic guys who could potentially also be action stars, do you want to do our movie review for the week?
Yes.
Let's talk Ricky Stanicky a little bit.
Yo, Stanicks.
So I had some interesting stuff. So this movie came out on Amazon Prime this past weekend. We had talked about it last week that we were going to be taking some time to watch this. Before we got into the review, I wanted to read one interesting thing I read on the IMDb trivia page. Was what I was about to say. So, Dante, this movie was first announced in 2010.
What?
It was supposed to star James Franco as Ricky Stanicky. But as a result of scheduling conflicts, Franco dropped out and the role went to Joaquin Phoenix. But the shooting kept getting delayed until 2013 and Phoenix dropped out. After that, the role went to Jim Carrey, who waited a full year for the production to start, and then he dropped out as well. The role then went to Nicolas Cage in 2015. Cage thought of the role as an opportunity to remind viewers of his comedy, but at the same time, international financiers asked that there be action elements added to it, as it'll be sold to Cage. The request was denied, and the project stopped until 2021 when Zac Efron and Amazon finalized the deal, and John Cena actually got cast as Stanicky.
That makes a whole lot of sense, though. Because
I think when you lay out all
one of my takes from the movie was that it felt like an early 2000s comedy. So knowing it was written,
it's written by a Fairley brother who I believe did like There's Something About Mary and stuff.
Okay.
So it's written by a director who has very much built his career on that era of comedy, and has a pretty good grasp on how to. I watched like a couple interviews yesterday with Cena and Efron talking about making the movie, and like one of the points that they like Cena made with like the Fairley brothers is, I believe it was Peter Fairley who did this. That like they know they're not just making an R-rated movie like comedy for the sake of making an R-rated comedy. And I think what this movie does have, and like what those good R-rated comedies in the early 2000s, late 90s had, is while being very funny and pushing the envelope as far as what you can get away with, especially now versus then, but they
Yeah.
do have a heart to them, right? Like there's always this like sublime plot of like, like feeling. It's something that
Yeah.
I think Judd Apatow did a really good job of in the mid 2000s into the early 2010s as well. Is that to make these comedies, they can't just be lewd and like crass for the sake of doing it, or they're not going to be. There's going to be a limited level of success. There has to be empathy that you have for the characters. You have to feel something at the same time. So I think that that's where the tones for this movie really stand out. But it is
Yeah.
crazy to think that like John Cena cast for the same role as Jim Carrey and Joaquin Phoenix being the two craziest ones. But also, like, Franco in this pocket, like when you think about 2010, when this was getting made, Franco is a perfect choice
Yeah.
for that role. Like, this is right around Pineapple
I
Express.
was just
This
gonna
is
say,
right
yeah.
around all of that peak Franco comedy era. Is like that's when he was kind of one of the guys before the cancelable shit came out and everything with him. Um, that he was like this was a role for him. The Nicolas Cage one is kind of crazy. Like part of me is like the way the movie plays out with the Stanicky character. Like I think Cage makes a little bit of sense.
I I love Nick Cage, so like I wouldn't have been against it. I do
It's
think it wouldn't have been as great of a movie as it is though, if it was Nick Cage.
I think it's the two that are the funniest are the two biggest, right? Because like Carrie is obviously a comedy icon,
Yeah.
but like does his comedy match up with the way that this movie kind of plays out? I don't know that it
It
does.
could though. I mean, you got to understand that a large part of this was probably rewritten around Cena and his style of comedy.
Yeah, yeah. And then Joaquin Phoenix, it's like he's like a legitimate like Academy Award winner and shit. Like not also a person I think of first as like comedy. I think of him as like really good drama or like thriller type actor before I think of him as a comedy actor.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, I think it's a lot of weird possibilities that you had before you get to the Cena role in this movie. And yeah, getting into the movie itself, I I mean, you said it yourself, like it's very good. It's
Like, I mean,
about as
this wasn't a theater release, but I probably would have given it a 4-star run out of 5.
I think that it's interesting that like this is the way things play out now, right? Because historically, I don't know if this movie would have done good in the movies or not, but it does feel like it has the caliber of actors with an Efron and a Cena, and then like Santino is pretty big in like the podcasting world and the comedy world. And then I don't remember the fourth guy's name. Forgive me on that. He's
Riley
obviously not
Styles?
as
No.
yeah. No.
Yeah.
Is that him?
No, 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 no. Oh, who played it was the black guy, Wes, right?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, he's not even under the top cast on IMDb.
He's just not, like to my knowledge, not a very established actor, but he was good. He played his part very well. But like I feel
Yeah.
like it had enough star power and it's a good enough movie that it would have performed decently. But I think taking the money up front at Amazon is fine, and like I totally get that. I do agree. It pushes the envelope a lot. Like it's very very R rated. Um,
But I think one of the great things this movie accomplishes, as much as it pushes the envelope, like you said, and like you say about a lot of movies, it's still something that made you feel something. Like it
yeah,
wasn't short on its feel good moments, and like it had a very good message, and like it was a very well developed plot that they carried out. So like it's a great movie.
yeah. It's not a particularly like unique like idea. Like
No,
somebody has to like they make up somebody, he has to come in and fake it. And I think the reality is you could recast those three friends with anybody, but
no,
I don't know, and this is a credit to John Cena, like I don't know that anybody could have performed that role of Ricky Stanicky the way that he did it.
no. Like I
And
said,
like
this was like for him. Like that is definitely his lane of comedy.
it's his willingness to not take himself, like, it's so weird if you follow him to the level that I have, like, growing up as a wrestling fan, but then like watching all the way through the Cena era, like him being from here, I obviously had from Boston, like had a little bit more of an attachment to him in the wrestling world when he was maybe hated because of his good guy like persona. I think that we here have always like loved him because he was our guy. But the persona that he had through his whole wrestling career, and then even the persona you see him live in real life. I mean, the guy wears a suit everywhere. Like he literally, like every interview you'll ever see of him, he's in a fucking full like suit. Like he's a very buttoned up guy, always super professional. Like never in a time in the wrestling world, it's very easy to get mixed up with a lot of bad shit, whether it's drugs or something else, you know. And he's a guy who is like the face of that franchise and was the good guy for so long. And it's so crazy to see him in these acting roles and not taking himself like overly serious, not trying to rewrite who he is. He's just like, it's like, no, I'm a goofy fucking weird guy and I'm willing to look like an idiot to make other people laugh. And I think look no further than the beginning of this movie when he's playing like Rock Hard Rod, you know, and he's just doing like masturbation songs and they're like ridiculous. And even like when he gets off of the plane and is withdrawing from alcohol.
Or even like before that, when he gets the call from them and he's dressed up as who I assume to be Britney Spears.
It is Britney Spears, yeah.
But he's fucking hilarious, like the whole mannerisms with like the flipping of the hair and everything, and like
when he gets off the plane and he pisses himself and he's like, don't worry, guys, it's not what you think, and they're like, it's not what we think. He's like, yeah, no, I only pissed myself. They're like, yeah, no, you only pissed yourself, dude. Like, it's from that. I mean, and then you have like actors like William H. Macy pop up in this, which is pretty cool as well. Like some like legitimate actors surrounding them here. The movie's a ride. Like it's seriously funny the whole way through, and then you get that perfect wrap up of like the heartfelt wrap up, you know, where the character has mostly he's not even trying to be an asshole. Obviously, I think it's one of those interesting things that you do with this style of movie where it's like, who is the asshole? Is it Rock Hard Rod, Ricky Stanicky, like for kind of ruining these guys' lives for the betterment of his own to a point, like a reinvention of his life? Or is it like the Efron character of like, you know, you guys have been telling lies for your whole life and it's coming back to bite you in the ass, and you know, and you're being like,
it also lets you see it through like two scopes too. It's like you say he's like ruining their life, but realistically throughout every step he was making their lives better.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I think it's like that's where like you have to have this really good end. And it's actually something obviously not the same, but it's something I've talked about kind of recently about my issue with a lot of the modern rom-coms that we get is the best part of like a rom-com, right? Is like you have them meet cute at the beginning, you have them in like in the relationship phase, and then something happens that like separates them or breaks them up, and you're supposed to get this like great speech at the end that brings them back together, right?
You're making a ton of great points, but I need you to never use the term meet cute ever again.
That's what it is a meet cute, dude.
Find something else to call it.
Google meet cute for me, dude.
Not having just that in my search history. Not even in incognito. No.
Yeah, go private, dude. Do it on your phone, go private. Look up meet cutes. But
oh my god,
you know, like that is the problem I think with a lot of your like modern day like rom-com stuff is you don't get those like epic speeches. I referenced like Say Anything earlier with like the boombox scene. Like you don't get enough of like that shit in rom-coms anymore. It's almost like you just get this like little ending scene and they're like, no, but I always loved you, and like they're just back together kind of thing. You know, they see each other on the street or something, but like you don't get the Wedding Crashers scene with like Owen Wilson at the wedding at the end, like just trying to interrupt the wedding every 2 seconds to like apologize to what's Notebook Girl's name? Rachel McAdams. that's like you don't get that whole build up to like will they won't they as much anymore. And I think that that's the great thing with this, right? They even make you fall for it a little bit because Zac Efron has to come up and do the, hey, I'm actually the asshole, like I've had character growth, I have lied about this forever
Are you sure
and
it's
I
Rachel
let all of you down.
McAdams?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Yeah, I'm sure it's Rachel McAdams, dude. Positive. I've seen The Notebook enough times to know it's Rachel McAdams, dude.
How many
They had
times have you watched The Notebook?
a fair amount. They had a meet cute on a Ferris wheel. He runs up and like jumps onto her Ferris wheel and like hangs on by one arm.
No,
Have you not seen it?
no, I haven't.
Dude, I waited for you for, for 6 years. I wrote you every day.
I don't actually even know what The Notebook's about.
Oh man, okay. Have you seen Saving Private Ryan?
Yes.
Okay, so beginning of Saving Private Ryan starts with an old man in front of like a gravestone. Um, Interestingly enough, like I watched somebody talked about Saving Private Ryan recently. This is a whole other segue that we'll get into. Saving Private Ryan starts with Matt Damon's character as an old man, right? Matt Damon
Okay.
is Private Ryan, the person that they're saving. Starts with him at the burial site of the other people who died trying to save him, respecting them, right? And then it goes into his brain as if it's his memory, but it goes to the beach of D-Day. And nobody had ever pointed this out to me until I heard it recently on a podcast that like he wasn't even in that scene.
Huh.
They hadn't even met him yet. So like, how is he having a like, you know, it's not his memory that he's recalling. It's very weird. Neither here nor there. But my point being, tying back to the Notebook, the Notebook is an old man and an old woman in a nursing home. And it's an old man recounting the story of how he fell in love with a girl. He meets her, they love each other. He goes to war. Um, and while he's at like away at war, basically, like he's writing her letters, he's not getting responses. When he finally comes back, he hasn't spoken to her in years. And they basically like she has moved on. He never really has. He's a miserable fuck at this point. Ryan Gosling, by the way, if you didn't know
Oh,
that.
the hot goss.
Yeah, it's hot goss. And you know, they run into each other and like their relationship like kind of rebuilds type deal.
Huh. Okay.
You know, as a it's that's not really a com so much as just a rom
Drum.
movie. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it is quite good if you're into the genre. I'll give them that. I don't know how we got here from Ricky Stanicky necessarily.
You were talking about meet cute, and then you gave me examples of other ones, and
Yeah, you asked me about the
basically
Notebook.
defied my request to never say that again.
Yeah, good, good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep that in the back of my head as far as things to bring up in the future. The term "meet cute." But yeah, so Ryan, you have this whole thing with Efron's character having like this character growth, but then you still get that like great moment with like Cena's character, like with Stanicky, and how the wife has caught them in this whole thing, but decides like without telling, like she, I like that she makes Efron's character like suffer,
Yeah.
even though she's found a solution to the things that he fucked up because he could have fucked up her like professional career. She finds a way to like punish him for that, make him feel terrible, but also like save him with this great story about how like they're actually the heroes in this story because they saved this guy who was a fucking drug addict who, you know, was a down on his luck guy doing sex songs for three people in a club at like Atlantic Beach or Atlantic City, but a beach,
Yeah.
the beach in Atlantic City, you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure.
But and even like to the point where like he records the conversation and sends it to the wife and like it's like I was mad at you till I heard this, you know.
And that makes it a very convincing like forgiveness. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah. The you know what was maybe the standout scene in the whole thing for me? Um the brisk.
Okay.
The brisk is
Brisk, not brisk.
it's not like a can of iced tea.
No, it's just brisk. BRIS.
I don't know.
No, I do.
Is it? Are you sure it's not like bisque, like Bisquick?
No, I'm telling you with 100% certainty, it's Briss.
But from them drugging the fucking rabbi accidentally, which is like an insane thing, and the whole like build up to are they going to let them cut this kid's dick, like, and then Cena just coming up, Stanicky coming up with a fucking cigar cutter.
I mean, I love the whole build up to it too, where it's like, I know that guy. Oh, I know where I know that guy from. I've seen him in the commercials.
Yeah,
they're just like, you fucking idiot.
You know, Stanicky knows. Like they came up in the acting world. They probably did a job together or something. Nope, not at all.
Oh man, I love that there's nothing to like even back up his claim to being an actor.
Oh, but he's great, dude. Like when he has to like shit on the mother, like
when he completely absorbs the role of Stanicky, yeah.
Yeah.
He did his research.
Yeah, like she questions him on like the way that the like funding works, and he's just like, you know what, since you did ask, and he just fucking lays the hammer on her, dude.
Oh man. That's great.
Yeah, two thumbs up, like 4 stars, like you said. It's as far as modern comedies go, it's another thing, dude. I think movies are in a good spot right now, pretty collectively, because even last year we got some good R-rated comedies. Nothing like adult like this necessarily. Like Strays was very good. The Jennifer Lawrence.
What was the
that's PG-13. Isn't that one? No, there's titties in that, so it's got to be R-rated, right?
Yeah, and then the Jennifer Lawrence one starts with an N. No hard feelings.
Yeah, that one was good, and then the Blackening also.
Yeah.
Throw that in there. Like we have had some pretty good R-rated comedies recently, but this one's another one. And like to your point, like getting it straight to streaming, like a comedy of this quality dropping straight to streaming, that term's kind of got to go out the window at some point now, right? Like,
well, I think it changes now that like you have companies like Amazon and Apple that have their own studios and they're clearly investing a lot into this to give you a quality movie. Like, obviously, it's just going straight to streaming because they want to maximize on the profits of it, but I don't think that diminishes the quality of the movie.
Well, yeah, because you have something like Roadhouse coming out that like everybody is saying like this really should be getting a theatrical release. It's that good. And you know, remains to be seen if that's just hype to get people to watch it. But like they've been pushing heavily for that to get into theaters, and Amazon just won't let it go. But I think, you know, growing up in the era that I did, like there was theater actors, and then there was Steven Seagal who would like have a movie out every week that dropped at like Walmart. That was, you know, another B action movie, and like that was what people
banger B movies though.
Yeah, like it was kind of just like what people graduated onto after a certain level of like their Hollywood career was just like, I'm gonna make money and just drop movies that take no effort for me.
And I think that's probably the problem you have with the whole straight to streaming identification is that it's basically being kind of grouped with the graduation of B movies, like direct to DVD.
And they're just not that anymore. You know, you have the Ryan Reynolds of the world. You have stuff like Gyllenhaal has dropped a couple legitimate movies that are just like Netflix and now Amazon. You know, when you have guys like an Efron who is a legitimate like movie star, I would say at this point, like you know, dropping on streaming, like I think that it has graduated. I mean, Kevin Hart hasn't put out really any movie theater movies in quite some time, right?
What was his last one? Probably Jumanji.
No, I mean there was that one that he did, that Cranston drama, like dramedy, where Bryan Cranston's character's in the wheelchair, and
I know the one you're talking about. That's a remake.
Yeah, that movie's pretty good, honestly. Like Cranston's good, and like they have good chemistry together.
That movie's good. The original's really good too. The original's in like French.
I've never seen it. Yeah, have you watched a French movie?
It was back when I was like deep on Netflix, and I liked the plot of it, and I clicked into it, and for like the first few minutes of it, there's not really any dialogue. So by the time I realized it was French and I was reading subtitles, I was like, "Fuck it, I'll roll."
All right, I was going to ask if it was subbed or dubbed.
Yeah, subbed.
Yeah, everybody go watch Stanicky though. Go check out Ricky Stanicky. I feel like everybody's got Amazon Prime. We've talked about this. Like, I feel like everybody's got an Amazon account, so basically everybody has Amazon Prime at this point. Like, it's
Yeah.
definitely worth the watch if you are into like a throwback era comedy. A la like to a point, like it does have like that. There's something about Mary vibe to it. Like it's got some of that stuff to it.
I also enjoy when a movie's aiming to be set in a familiar place, like it was all based in Providence, even though they didn't film any of it in Providence.
Where'd they film it?
Melbourne.
Australia?
Yeah.
Why?
Like as far from Providence as they could have gotten.
Like, why'd they do that? What?
I assume they probably could have found like more secluded areas to get filming done. I don't know. But like they reference like a couple different like food chains that are specific to like Rhode Island area that I recognize, and I was like, oh, they're really trying to place it in Providence, but didn't film it there.
Yeah, so one of the trivia things was that there's like the same Patriots jersey in the background of like two different scenes in the movie.
Huh.
They didn't really give much like reason to why that was relevant for anybody, but yeah, that was the thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, okay. And lastly, Dante.
Do you have it?
Do you have
it? Taste.
Got it.
It's one downside with digital is you think you got it, but we didn't.
We've got to figure out, do I have to go a second before you to time it up, or do I have to go a second after you?
Second before.
Okay, I'll work on my timing then. I'll fix it for next time. But I do have it. Do you have it? Taste.
Fuck. Taste. I didn't know we were doing it again.
We weren't. I just, threw
it. So I don't know how much you have on your taste test outside of Stanicky, but I got 3.
I have 4.
Okay. I would have had.
Do you want
Stanicky?
Do you want me to start with like the one that my reoccurring here, real quick?
Oh, okay.
Bang out
Ones Who Live.
Bang out Ones Who Live, real quick. Yeah, this show's awesome. It's fucking incredible, dude. Like,
oh wow, I feel like you said that before.
Holy shit, dude! This might be some of the best Walking Dead we've ever gotten. This 3rd episode was, dude. It is like there's just the acting performances in this are so fucking awesome. There's just scenes where I'm like watching Andrew Lincoln like as Rick Grimes, and I'm like, this guy is putting on a fucking masterpiece right now.
Yeah.
Like the story, like he has to play this like there's the guy you knew for fucking 7 seasons of a TV show, and then there's 10 years in between, and like he has to play a guy who's been beaten and broken. It's like scared of shit now, and like you never saw him that way, and like he in this episode he's trying to like both him and Michonne are now at the CRM, and he tells her that they're going to be leaving together, like they're escaping together that night. And he basically sets it up to try and get her to escape because he finds out that the woman Jadis who got him into the CRM has a file in her stuff, and she now knows that Michonne is there and is like, if you guys try to escape, I'm going to come and like destroy Alexandria, which is where Rick and Michonne, because they've been gone for so long, think where all of their people are. They don't know, because of what happened in later seasons of The Walking Dead, that their people aren't even there anymore. Like, so they think that, like, Rick thinks that if he leaves, he's going to cause the death of all of his people and all of this stuff. And he knows the magnitude of what, like, the CRM can do. And he's like, the only reason that I was able to live through all my escape efforts is because I had somebody on the inside protecting me. And the only way you'll ever be able to escape is if you have somebody on the inside help you get out. So, like, we can't both leave. And he basically tells her they're going to, gets her to a spot where she can leave. She's like, fuck this, I'm not leaving. And she goes back in. And she gets brought into the fold of like this, like the team that he is on with the woman that Rick convinced, like Rick's one friend who has now taken over like control of like the military, is the one who got her to like stick around because they know that she is a leader and that they should kill her. but he convinces her that like she can't kill her off and like has to keep her. They go on like a mission. Again, Michonne like can't help herself but to be a fucking leader and puts herself like in a spot where this woman can't trust her and is going to definitely kill her essentially. And they are flying back to base, and he's supposed to basically be separating from Michonne at this point. He gets mad at Michonne, tells her like I don't love you anymore. Like things are different now. You need to go. We can't speak anymore. And she's like angry for a while, has some things to get her to come back around. And when they're on the helicopter at the very end of the episode, this bitch just grabs him. They're in the middle of like a rainstorm and like it's all rocky and like the helicopter's having a rough go. She just grabs him, opens up the door to the helicopter, and just jumps out of the helicopter with him.
Were they like
And
over
like
water?
You don't know. That's how the episode ended.
I mean, like obviously they survived, but goddamn.
Yeah, like because you get the preview for the next episode, and the next episode basically like the preview is just like her with him, and she's just like, we needed a timeout, like we needed to talk, because he couldn't like they could only talk in short spurts because like people couldn't know that they knew each other, and there's so much stuff that like she needs to like find out because she's obviously like, this is the guy I love, but he is not the person that like I remember
that he was. Yeah.
Yeah, and we need time to figure this shit out. And I'm not gonna get that if we just stay here. But yeah, just like the quality of episode and the tension that they're building and the acting performances of these episodes, it's been top notch shit, man. I can't. I was gonna love it no matter what, obviously, but like I think that and they're doing really really good numbers, so it's brought back in a lot of like lapsed fans. But
Mm.
I think it should be watched. You know.
All right.
All right, your turn.
My turn. Not nearly as glowing a review. I watched the movie 57 Seconds.
I'm not familiar.
No. Josh Hutcherson, Morgan Freeman.
Nope.
No. It's a sci-fi movie. Kind of feel like it's like reminiscent of like, you remember what was it called? Jumper?
I've seen the trailer for this. Yeah, I do. I am aware of Jumper. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hayden Christensen.
Yeah. It's like that
Samuel
kind
L.
of movie.
Jackson, Rachel
Yeah.
Bilson. Yep.
Yeah. So like it's like that kind of movie. There's a few others like in that genre that I guess are like kind of similar, but it's basically a sci-fi thriller, where he gets this ring that allows him to travel back 57 seconds in the past and kind of get redos on shit. And I don't know. It's just it's a weird concept, and it wasn't necessarily the greatest movie, but it definitely was interesting.
I have a rule of thumb that I'm creating now, but I think I've had it for a while.
Yeah.
I'm not watching movies that have Morgan Freeman in the thumb any longer.
Why?
The man's like 90. I think he's lost his mind a little bit. He's an incredible actor, but you don't want to see like the best go too long into their career. You don't want to
like
see him
I
get
really
too
like
long.
Morgan Freeman, but this just feels like an example of like he'll take anything.
I mean, that guy has had no like he's another one where you could see him in a blockbuster putting on an act to clink, and then the next week you could see him on the shelf at Walmart in like the shittiest movies like ever made. The Einstein Project, I think it's like Justin Timberlake's first ever acting role.
Okay.
He's in that. Or the Edison Project, not Einstein. It was Edison.
I'm not familiar with it, so I wouldn't have been able to correct you.
So this is on Stars, apparently. That's the reason you watched it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine many people are going to see it because it's on Stars.
Oh, what's your beef with Stars, bro?
I just don't think people have it.
Yeah, there's not a ton on there.
It is one of those things that sucks where like there are movies that I'm like, hey, I kind of want to watch that. And then I look it up and I see it's on Stars. And I know somewhere in our text thread, I could access a Stars account if I needed to.
Yeah.
But I just haven't.
I gotcha.
There's like I have like 12 other streaming services that I like. If like instead of going through the effort of downloading a new one and logging into it, I'd rather just find something else.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. So I mean, like, this was probably some middle of the road, like 2.5 star kind of shit. Um. Character development wasn't great, but it was an interesting story. I just don't think they played it out that well.
This is a little bit more that like idea of direct streaming, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Like, this
From
is
a
more
quality
like that
standpoint.
B movie direct to streaming kind of expectation.
Josh Hutchinson's having like a weird career to me.
Yeah.
Because I think people think of him, including myself, as PETA, like the Hunger Games guy, and it's like
Yeah.
a lot of promise, and I feel like he, for one reason or another, has not really done
Much
these
else. Yeah.
bigger movie roles, since then. He's done a lot of this, like even like Beekeeper. It's like
Yeah.
he's just kind of that's an above average B movie to a point, right?
Yeah.
Like super enjoyable, but like he's just playing like a run of the mill like bad guy to a point.
Yeah, it was
It,
corny. Like,
it,
there was nothing really phenomenal about his acting.
yeah, it's weird. Like I think that he's going to be an interesting one where I think there was a time where you assumed both him and Jennifer Lawrence had like promising careers in front of them because they had this great launching point at such a young age, and she 100% capitalized on it. Where I don't know that like, and maybe it's just like the roles he chose didn't like he maybe tried like better acting roles and like they just didn't get the notice that hers did.
Yeah.
Uh, she had the advantage of like she had like Oscar noms at like right around that time, and he just never got that. And maybe he doesn't have it in him. I don't know, but
No.
I think he'll be an interesting one to look back on and be like, "Wow, I'm surprised his career didn't do more." You know. I have an interesting one. So the movie, not so much, but I had a couple of interesting things that I thought of after it. So I watched Good Luck Chuck this week.
Okay.
You've seen Dane Cook
Is that
movie with Jessica Alba?
never mind. I was thinking of I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry.
That's a different movie.
Yeah.
That's Jessica Biel, Adam Sandler, and Kevin
Kevin James, yeah.
James. Yeah, okay. No, so you've never seen Good Luck Chuck?
I don't think so. I'm pulling it up now.
Have you? So, what are your thoughts on like how many Dane? This is going to segue into my question. How many Dane Cook movies have you seen?
I don't think many. Can't think of any
So,
off the top of my head, but I'm also not great with recall.
Waiting,
Nope.
Justin Long, Ryan Reynolds movie. You had this movie. You had Employee of the Month was another big one.
Okay. I've seen that one, yeah.
So let's start there. Employee of the Month. Before I get into my question, Employee of the Month. It's funny enough. I watched this movie, and I don't know if you know this, but Dane Cook's actually a COD streamer now. He's been one for a
I
little
feel like you
while.
told me that, but I did forget.
It's super weird. I think he cheats because like he doesn't have a camera. He just like it's just his gameplay and him talking.
Okay.
And I don't know. I just feel like you'd get more of a following as Dane Cook if people like
Could
saw
see you.
you while you were
Yeah.
playing. So I assume he's cheating. Like,
Mm.
also in Good Luck Chuck, there's a scene where he is playing Xbox, and it looks like he's never held a video game controller before. So red flags, red flags. But so Employee of the Month too, all of a sudden pops up in my TikTok algorithm, and then I saw it today on Twitter. He has a meeting this week for an Employee of the Month too,
Oh shit.
a
Okay.
sequel. And he's trying to get it off the ground. He's got a meeting with executives about it, and he's trying to get the fans to like get vocal about wanting to see the continuation of that, which I think is like a weird one because I would have never thought. I'm gonna rewatch the movie now that I watched Good Luck Chuck, and there's a potential for a sequel, and just be like where do I think that they could take this
No.
from it. In addition to that, like Jessica Simpson has not been relevant in pop culture in 10 years, right? And she was the female lead in that.
Jessica Simpson or Jessica Alba?
No, Jessica Simpson was in Employee of the Month.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Good Luck Chuck.
Well, so
Gotcha.
no, but I said employee of the month too is what they're.
Gotcha.
So like Jessica Simpson, I assume they're going to cast a new lead female for him in this because like, I'd not say that they couldn't bring back Jessica Simpson and like that'd be interesting to see her with 10 years of not really being in the spotlight. But I just think that like if you're going to make this movie and get people to watch it, you have to find an actress that's a little bit more relevant today.
Mm.
It's also one of those weird ones when you watch one thing you have to almost avoid with like movies to a point, it's really easy for a movie to feel dated. And I think that like her casting and not using an actress that had done like many roles, like she really only did that in Dukes of Hazzards, if I remember correctly. And like that feels dated in itself, right? Because she's so synonymous with like mid 2000s to early 2010s
Mm.
and hasn't been relevant after that. Like, I just think there's a whole demographic of people who don't know who Dane Cook is for that matter, because he hasn't really done anything in a while.
Not much,
But
yeah.
even more so, they don't know who she is. So I have to think that you're going to recast that at least. I don't know that there was a ton of people clamoring for a sequel, but I'd watch it if they do it. The other big question though I came away with from Good Luck Chuck while watching it, the movie's fine. It's somewhat enjoyable. It's pretty funny. I think that you could recast any Dane Cook movie with Ryan Reynolds and they'd be infinitely better. Because if you were to go watch Dante, like Good Luck Chuck, it's on Amazon. I think what happened was I watched Ricky Stanicky, and then in like
I gotcha, yeah.
people also watched was Good Luck Chuck, and I was like, oh, I haven't seen that in a while. I'll throw it on. Um, if you go watch the way that he acts in this movie, and then you just envision Ryan Reynolds, it's like he is 100% just being Ryan Reynolds. But like the thing is, like Ryan Reynolds has this ability to be kind of like an arrogant dickhead character, but
Yeah.
have this like charm to him.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that when Dane Cook does it,
You just don't like him.
I think that there's not as much charm behind it. It comes off more as just mean spirited in some ways.
Yeah.
And you're not rooting for him the same way that I think you can find. And I think about like a movie like Just Friends with Ryan Reynolds as being a good example of this, where like Ryan Reynolds is like a character who was like a really nice guy in high school, but like doesn't get the girl because he's like the fat best friend, and decides from that moment on that he's going to get ripped and like be like a super attractive dude and goes to Hollywood and gets like a really good job and becomes an asshole. And he goes back to his hometown and he's trying to get the girl that he hasn't, that he wanted in high school. And it's like he's teetering on this line of he is an asshole now, but like you also have to kind of like him. So yeah, I think that was the one like big takeaway I had. I was like, dude, like there was a through line here where like these Dane Cook roles could have like they were just movies that Ryan Reynolds probably didn't want to make.
Damn.
The other Dane Cook movie was it had the dude from American Pie, and it was My Best Friend's Girl, I think. If Kate Hudson's
I'm
in
not
it,
familiar
and
with that one.
Jason Biggs. It's the other
Okay.
one.
Yeah.
You should go down a Dane Cook rabbit hole, dude.
Mm.
You've never seen Waiting?
No.
You don't know the dick game?
No.
The brain, the bat wing, the goat. You don't know any of these?
No.
So in Waiting, they had a game where the thing would be like you'd be waiting in a room, like they all worked in a restaurant, and all the guys who worked there had this game where you had point levels for the way like you could get your male coworker to see your dick, basically,
Yeah.
or balls, and like the brain was like you just put your two nuts, like squeeze them in between your hands so that like it looks like a brain. The bat wing would be like you spread out your like your nutsack and have like your like the guy has to, if the guy walks through the door and sees it, you get to kick him in the ass, and then each one has like a point level. So like the Batwing was like 2 kicks in the ass. The brain was like 3 kicks in the ass. The goat, which is the hardest one to pull off, was like you'd have to be standing bent over with your dick and your balls like tucked between your legs. So when they walk in, they see it like it's. It's ridiculous. You have to watch the movie. And that one like got you like 9 kicks on the ass or something like that.
What the fuck?
That movie's very funny. Like that's a good R-rated comedy.
Yeah. Interesting.
What do you
Sounds
have?
like there's a lot of dicks in that.
You don't see them.
Okay.
Maybe you see like the Batwing or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember, but you don't really see a ton of dicks. But it's very good. Justin Long, Ryan Reynolds, Dane Cook plays a line cook in it. Andy Milonakis is in it as far as like dated like references, you know.
Okay.
Okay. What else did you have?
I watched The Honor Society.
It's a Netflix show.
No, it wasn't Netflix. I forget what it was on. I think it might have been Prime. But it's Gaten Moderato, isn't it?
Yeah, okay, I know which one you're talking about.
Okay. Have you seen it?
It's no.
Oh, it's on Paramount. That's what it is.
I've scrolled past it enough time. It's just called Honor Society, by the way.
Oh, my bad.
Okay, well, give us your thoughts.
I mean, I by the end of it enjoyed it, but it's definitely a very slow build. It's kind of like one of those like teen movies, coming of age kind of thing. But it is a rom-com. It starts off pretty kind of cliche and tacky for the first half, but it almost lends itself to like the way it gets you invested in the characters, and it ties up pretty good in the second half. I enjoyed it.
Now, you say it's a rom-com. Is that kid the one pursuing the girl?
Basically the plot is the girl is honor society. It's all about her grades, right? Like she's trying to finish off her senior year as top of the class to get a recommendation to Harvard, where she wants to go. But in order to lock that in, she has to take out the other 3 candidates that would be top of the class. And he's one of the ones that she's trying to knock off his game. So she's trying to seduce him to get him to dip in his grades.
So it's kind of like that Jennifer Lawrence movie in a way. Like it's like this girl would never be interested in this guy, but is like faking like she is.
Yeah.
Does she end up falling for him?
Yeah.
I think that's why I never watched the movie, if I'm being completely honest, is like I don't think I can find him as like a believable leading man in a rom-com.
I mean, he was pretty good.
I almost appreciate in No Hard Feelings like that they don't try to pretend like that's how that movie would end, you know?
Yeah.
Like
if you're not going to watch it, I can spoil it for you.
Should I watch it?
I feel like you might like this one.
Okay.
Like I said, the first half is kind of like, damn, do I really care about this? And then by the second half, you're like, damn, this is actually pretty good.
I mean, I have no problem. Like, I'll watch just about any rom-com, but like, generally, it has to be like I see the 2 lead characters, and I'm like, yeah, I'd watch that. Like, and be interested. I just see him, and I'm like, I don't think I want to watch that.
You also have McLovin as like her guidance counselor that's constantly trying to hit on her.
It's funny that he is aged up to be the age of like the guidance counselor in the high school, not the high school student anymore.
Yeah. Still has that McLovin vibe to him, which I love.
Yeah, it's so crazy because he has like a super iconic role that like everybody remembers and is going to always know and reference, but it almost like typecast himself into like that's what he did.
Shuts him out of whatever else he could do. Yeah.
Yeah, like he did Neighbors after that, but he was just kind of a bit role in Neighbors, and he didn't have any standout stuff in my mind like after that.
Yeah.
You know. You have anything else?
The other thing is the thing you told me to watch last week.
What was that? I asked
Bottoms.
you to watch all the time. Oh, you watched Bottoms?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I think the chemistry was definitely great in that movie. Like it definitely is a great follow up to the other one I watched,
Booksmart.
Booksmart, yeah. It kind of follows that same line of like, great leading chemistry, great comedy. Like it goes a little over the top at some points, but like
yes. that movie, like the one flip is like Booksmart is outrageous in the way of like super bad outrageous.
Yeah.
Whereas like Bottoms, on the other hand, the last 10 minutes of that movie is so fucking crazy. like,
Yes.
like you don't expect it to go the way that it does, dude.
I also love that like the whole point of it is they're in a fight club, but the whole time they're in the fight club, you never see them actually doing anything impressive, and then all of a sudden that last fight, they just all kick ass, and I'm like, what the fuck happened here?
Just
how do we get
fucking everyone up.
Yeah.
This bitch has like a sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it goes like from like 0 to 100 in like a second, dude. It's so fucking crazy. It's perfect in a way because the movie is like outrageous, and it's just like, well, how can we make this like super rememberable for people? We'll just go so unrealistic in the end, like this like supposed to be like high school coming of age like type movie with a feel good ending, and they're like, but that won't be memorable enough. Like people will like our movie, but like it won't stand out. And they were like, you know what'll make it stand out? Let's just have the craziest finish to a movie possible for like a comedy. Like with like the whole budget went into that. Like everything else just takes place in like a gymnasium.
Yeah. Well, it's also funny that like I was saying earlier with my take with Stanicky, how it gave like that early 2000s vibe, and like this definitely gave that too, like the late 90s, early 2000s kind of like level of outrageous comedy. I mean, I think there was even a point where like they didn't have smartphones in there. Like the kid was like calling the cops on the fucking razor.
I think the other part of it is like when you can push the envelopes more when it's like it's supposed to be like these two gay girls, so I feel like you can get away with a lot more coming from that viewpoint. Like as far as like I think that they push the envelope with like terminology and dialogue that you can't necessarily get away with as much if it was gender more like atypical content. You know what I mean?
Fucking Marshawn Lynch, by the way,
is incredible, dude. Incredible.
Fucking hilarious.
For not being like an actor at all. Like he plays the straight man to their characters so well, dude, as like their teacher, but then also the person like leading their club.
Oh man. It was just funny too, like watching his lessons every time he was writing on the board, just switch from feminism to anti-feminism and back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's another one that people should definitely check out if you haven't yet. It's very funny. We're in a good age for comedies again, man. The R-rated comedies making a comeback, and it's nice to see people not be afraid of getting canceled so much, because that's what like ruined comedy, right? Like comedy can't be safe.
Yeah, like you can't be trying to toe a line. You just got to go all out.
And going back to the Stanicky thing in those interviews I was watching, Cena was talking about how like comedy as an actor is really the most vulnerable form of acting. And he was saying it because he's like, if you do like a drama, even if or like a sad movie, his whole point was like, even if you do a sad movie, but you don't elicit like in your intentions for it to be sad, like a drama or something, but you don't make them sad. Maybe you make them angry. Maybe you make them happy or they smile or something. Like you're still eliciting emotion with it. So like you're okay. If you make an action movie and people laugh at it because it's stupid, like you're still eliciting emotion. But when in a comedy movie that's meant to just outright be a comedy, and your whole goal is to make people laugh, like, and it's hard to know if something you have to just trust while you're making it, that because something's funny to you, that it's going to be funny when it gets in front of like actual people. And it's a lot more of a vulnerable thing because like it's either funny or it's not funny. Yeah. Like when you make an outright comedy,
it's funny or you look like an idiot.
Yeah, it's an A and B thing. It's either it is or it isn't. Whereas most other forms of acting and like genre of movie, you can be successful at other things. Like you think about like a rom-com. It's like, well, like you could really just like the romance aspect of it, but you're like, it's not that funny. Or you're like, it's funny, but I didn't like the relationships of the characters. Like there's just like there's other ways to view those movies. Whereas with just outright comedy, it's a lot more like it's just funny or it's not funny, and it's gotta work. And I think the way that you make things funny is to push boundaries. I think you're seeing that even now with like the rise of like Shane Gillis, right? Like you have to be willing to not compromise your sense of humor because of what people will think or like say, you know, because you might offend somebody too much. It's like if you're funny enough, who gives a shit if there's a pocket of the world that doesn't like you? Because at the end of the day, you're going to get a diehard fan base that's like, he's just being himself, and that's what I
I
want.
love that his whole lane is just fucking having the wildest takes on shit.
Yeah, but it's not like, hey, I'm saying things to get the reaction. He
No,
is like,
no, there's
like
like
the
logic
reaction.
behind it too, and it's fucking
Yeah,
hilarious.
the reaction he's looking for is laughter, right? Like sometimes it may be like thoughtful and like it's funny because it's thought provoking. Sometimes it's just outrageous, and like that's fine too. But
Yeah.
like
I mean, most of
his
your best
intention is
comedians are really intelligent people too.
well, it's like when you go and watch Chappelle, it's not Chappelle's not just telling jokes, dude. Like
No, he's
Chappelle's
talking
making
real
you
shit.
think. Yeah, he's making you think about shit, you know, and he's not worried about like, you know, especially when you look at the Netflix run, like he's not worried about somebody fucking canceling him. He's like, dude,
Yeah.
like if you want to watch, but like we kind of I said earlier about why I don't like it, I haven't downloaded Stars. I have 12 other streaming services that I want to use, and on those 12 different other streaming services, there's millions and millions of other things to watch. And that's the crazy thing about like canceling things or being worried about being canceled in the movie like sphere of things, right? It's like, hey, if somebody doesn't want to watch what you're putting out, they don't got to watch. There's options for everybody out there.
Yeah.
And you pay to have this, you pay to watch it. Like, just don't pay. And you know, if you want to object to something, object to it by your dollar. Like, don't invest in it. You know.
Yeah.
I had a couple things I want to watch coming that have come out that I haven't checked out yet. So The Gentleman, the TV
What's that?
series. So it was a movie, a Guy Ritchie movie, that's phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, we did it. We actually did a 3-2-1 spoiler. Me, D, and Matt a few years back now, or 2 years maybe back on this movie. It's very very good, and
Matthew
they've now
McConaughey.
McConaughey, Henry Gold, a few other people. Colin Farrell's in it. It's very funny. It's very good. Like 100% worth the watch. It's on my Voodoo Dante if you do want to watch it. But they now have a TV series spinoff. I don't know if it's like a spinoff or if it's, you know, a TV series version of the movie. But it's got like Kaya Scotadero, who I'm a fan of. She was in Crawl. She was in the Resident Evil movie that came out a couple of years back. She was also in the Maze Runner. She's been in a few things, so I like her. And I forget the other male lead in it, but he's also pretty good too. But I want to check that out. That's on Amazon Prime, I believe. And then I've been meaning to, and I haven't watched it yet. But speaking of Alan Richardson, I want to watch Jack Reacher finally.
Ah, okay. I did watch it. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I want to. I know I will. It's just been something I've like dragged my feet on getting into. You know, I don't know if the show's done, if there's going to be another season of it, but I'd like to finally watch that. So those are kind of on my docket right now, on my dossier for going forward.
All right.
There's a couple movies coming out this week. I believe Love Lies Bleeding is coming out, which is one that I really want to check out. It's a Kristen Stewart movie that is getting a lot of like positive praise that I'd like
Okay.
to see. That Imagination movie or Imaginary movie came out, which
Yeah.
isn't getting great reviews, but I think I will probably try to get out and see that at some point too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there was anything else, but those two, like that's kind of what I'm looking at for the next week, and maybe come back with next week for the taste test. We'll see
Cool
about
Panda's
Reacher.
also in theater.
Not gonna watch it. Yeah,
It topped the box office this weekend.
that's very good for it. Not something that strikes me as all that interesting though. Bottom of the list. I'd have to be real desperate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like I'm gonna definitely watch The Gentleman. I don't know if I'll do Reacher this week, but it is something that if I come across the time, I don't have anything else to watch. I did actually watch one other thing, not something we need to spend any time on. I watched the movie Slackers, which is a movie from 2002. featuring Devon Sawa and dude
Robert
from
McCarthy
How I Met Your
Oh,
Mother is
Jason
in it
Segel.
too. Jason Segel is in it. Yeah, good little piece of early 2000s. It's not like it's an R-rated comedy. It's not like the funniest thing in the world, but it's it's a decent little movie for anybody who can remember that throwback Slackers. We don't have anything else though, right? We're good.
Dry.
Cool. Yeah, we're all dried up. Shooting blanks now. Well, with that being said, our blanks will not be shot any further. We're grateful if you've made it this far, as always. And if you could, once again, just if you haven't yet and you got this far, why the fuck wouldn't you? Drop a like on the video. Throw some comments down below. What have you been watching? Have you watched any of the things, seen any of the stuff that we've talked about? Talked about. I tried to say too many words without taking a breath.
Okay.
Have you seen Stanicky yet? Let us know about that as well. And till then, we'll see you next week. You can find us anywhere audio podcasts are provided. Right here on YouTube. We are on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Dante has channels that he doesn't use. Dirty Water ENT _ somewhere in between, around, or above, wherever it might be. He has a little squiggly line over the W.
No, I don't. I don't even think that's an actual character.
It makes it sound like an N.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Dirty Nodder.
Until next week, though, everybody, we bid you fale adieu. Bang, bang.
Easy.
Gary, I did my first guest spot. It's a real thing, right?
For those with good taste.